Interior of the Palayur Church, one of the oldest Christian church in India and one of the 7 founded by St. Thomas the Apostle. In 50 AD, Palayur Marthoma Major Archiepiscopal Church is located at Palayur, historically known as Palayur, in Thrissur district in Kerala on the west coast of India. One according to St. Thomas Christian tradition, the Syrian Church was established in 52 AD by St. Thomas, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ. To St. Thomas performed the first baptism in India here. Therefore this church is called an apostolic church credited to the apostolate of St. Thomas, who preached and also introduced Christianity to the people here. 3-4 It is part of their Apika 7 major churches that he established in India, the others being at Kranganori, Kakamangalam, Kadakavu, Kollam, Niranam, and Chalnilakal. 5, 6, 7 The original small church structure has been retained at the original site, but substantial improvements around it were carried out during the 17th century by Giacomo Fenicio, as necessary, without sacrificing the main sanctity of the place. According to St. Thomas Christian tradition, Thomas traveled from Muziris, Kodungallur, and landed at Palayur by boat through the backwaters. At that time, Palayur was a stronghold of the Brahmins and also of Jews. He came to visit the Jewish merchants at Palayur at Judunkanu, meaning the Hill of Jews, and to preach the Christian gospel. The place has since become a dry land, but its historicity as a boat jetty called locally Badakulam has been preserved as a monument to St. Thomas. See picture 11, 12, 13. Of the 7 churches traditionally said to have been established by Thomas, only 3 Palayur in the syro-malabar Catholic Archparchy of Thrissur, Kadakavu in the syro-malabar Catholic Major Archparchy of Ernakulam and Gamli, and Niranam in the Malankara Orthodox Diocese of Niranam claim continuity, while the remaining 4 churches have undergone several changes in their locations. 14. Palayur St. Thomas Monument. Historical legend records that when Thomas landed at Palayur, he witnessed the sight of Hindu Brahmins after their ablutions in a local tank. They were offering prayers by chanting mantras, the Vedic tradition of India for spiritual transformation, hymns to God in the form of argham or tharpanam water held in the palms to the sun god. A practice also said to be followed in Harappan and Persian cultures, amused by the sight of water being thrown up by the Brahmins from the palms of their hands, which was falling back. He challenged the Brahmins, stating that the water they were offering was not being accepted by the sun god as it was falling back into the tank. He made a deal with them, stating that his god would accept the offer of water if he threw it up in the same way as they did. The water would not fall back. If he proved this, then his god was superior and the Brahmins would have to embrace Christianity. He performed this miracle, summoned the Holy Trinity, completed the sign of the cross, and threw water held in his palms up into the air, which remained still in the air at a height. And with this miracle, he converted a number of Brahmins and Jews in Palayur to Christianity. 15 Thereafter, he baptized the converts in a nearby water tank, now known as Thalayakulam, which is referred to as the first baptism pond, the birthplace of Christianity in India. The Brahmins who did not convert to the faith gave the epithet of the Shapa Kadu or cursed, placed to Palayur and migrated to Vembanad to purify themselves. Account of East Syriac bishops. In 1504, Mar Yabalaha, Mar Denha, Mar Yakababuna and Mar Thoma, the 4 East Syriac bishops, consecrated for India by the Catholicos, Patriarch Mar Aliavi, mentions the Christian community of Palayur in a letter addressed to the Catholicos Patriarch. 1819. The countries of India are very numerous and powerful, and their distance is about 6 months' journey. Each country has a special name by which it is known, and our country in which the Christians are found is called Malabar. It has about 20 towns, out of which 3 are renowned and powerful: Karangal, Kodungallur, Palayur, and Kollam, with others that are near them. Mackenzie 1901, p. 11. Archdeacon Georgas of Christ as Bishop of Palayur. Archdeacon Georgas of Christ was selected as the suffragan and coadjutor of Mar Abraham in the Diocesan Synod of Angamli. Following this, the Chaldean Catholic Patriarch Mar Abdisho from Maran, by a patriarchal decree dated the 25th of August 1566, appointed Georgas of Christ as the Bishop of Palayur and suffragan to Archbishop Mar Abraham of the Indian Ecclesiastical Province. 2021. In 1578, Mar Abraham wrote a letter to Pope Gregory XIII, requesting papal confirmation for the appointment of his archdeacon as the Bishop of Palayur and as his successor. The letter is dated the 2nd of January, 1578. 21. St. Georgas of Christ. By the letter dated the 3rd of January, 1579, Pope Gregory XIII confirmed Georgas of Christ as the administrator of the Archdiocese of Angamli, in case of vacancy through the death of the Metropolitan Mar Abraham. On the 4th of March 1580, the Pope confirmed his appointment as the Bishop of Palayur and coadjutor of the Archbishop of Angamli, Mar Abraham. 21. On the 5th of March 1580, the Pope wrote a letter to the entire clergy and people of the Archdiocese of Angamli, urging them to obey Metropolitan Mar Abraham and Georgas of Christ, the Bishop of Palayur. 21-22. We, then being solicitous for your salvation and the tranquility of your church, exhort and advise you, and by virtue of the power committed to us by Christ, also order you not to suffer yourselves to be infected by that pest. The reference is to the activities of Metropolitan Shaman, but evade it by all means. Flee from his words and sermons. Fear him as the enemy and eradicator of the Catholic faith, your salvation, and the glory of Christ. Eject him out of your community and gathering. Permit him not to dwell among you nor to remain in your places. The same you should do with the rest of the heretics and schismatics. Lest corrupted by their pestiferous doctrine and contagion you should perish. Be you therefore obedient to your Lord Archbishop Abraham, and also to George, Bishop of Palayur, and life steadfast in the sincerity of faith, in the simplicity of morals, and in the unity of the Holy Mother the Church. Thus you attain to that eternal felicity and glory, which God has prepared and reserved for those who would live piously and holy. Jamal 1902. p. 608. Renovation under Giacomo Fenicio. Rerum Indicarum Volume 3 by Pierre Dujeric gives part of a letter by James Fenicio, a Jesuit missionary in the Zamorans territory. This letter is the earliest European account of the Palayur Church. As quoted above, it has no date, but evidently belongs to the period between 1600 and 1607. 2324, the missionary had obtained permission to erect for churches in the Zamorans territory. 25. I devoted all the remaining available time to the erection of these churches, and to the Christian inhabitants of this village Palayur. I used to give them instructions as I chanced to meet them. As the Church of Palayur dedicated to St. Cyriac, which was the oldest primus among all the churches in Malabar, and renowned for favors and graces obtained, and for this reason much frequented, I devoted myself more especially to it. The stone church, which I began 2 years ago enclosing, apparently, within it the primitive building had risen to the height of the windows. At this stage no one would dare to pull down the old wooden building, fearing to be struck down by sudden death. It stood surrounded by the walls of the new erection. But after I had prayed and removed their timidity, the old structure was pulled down, and the new building stood out in such fine proportions that the Hindus, the Mohammedans, and the Jews flocked to see it. Jeric 1615, p. 5051. From the Jesuit Annual Letter of 1607, Domenico Feroli quotes a note from Fenicio, 26. I cannot. So, he writes, easily describe the difficulties I encountered in going to Palayur. When I arrived at Palayur, the Zamoran invited me to dinner. I put on purpose, a sad and serious countenance, and said I had taken food already. I determined to preach in 4 parishes, as the Bishop of Angamali had begged of me, but I stopped longer at this church of St. Quiricus, which is very old and famous for miracles. To Kingolets, having in vain appealed to their idols, made vows in this church with the object of getting an heir, God heard them. One determined to feed 500 or 1,000 of the faithful. The second called about 4,000. The first then, not wanting to be beaten in generosity, is preparing a larger invitation, knowing that great crowds would be coming. I adorned the church and arranged a grand procession, which was much admired and praised. For only 1939, p. 409,410. This is one of the 7 churches traditionally assigned to the time when St. Thomas preached in Malabar. The wooden structure must undoubtedly have been very old, and constructed, no doubt, of teak, which grew all over the country even in comparatively recent times. At that early age the supply must have been very plentiful. 24. Dom Alexis de Menezes and the Synod of Diamper. Antonio de Gouveia, a Portuguese missionary and chronicler of Dom Alexis de Menezes, records in his book Jornada Dom Alexis de Menezes about the Church of Palayur and other churches present nearby in the kingdom of Zamorin. On his way, he was given letters from the Casaners and vicars, whom from the synod he had sent to the Church of Palayur, dedicated to the glorious Saint Cyriac martyr, the last of this Christian community on the northern side, in the lands of the King Zamorin 5 leagues from Penang Panani, a place well known to the Portuguese and to our fleets, which meant to them a big disturbance with which the devil had deceived all those people, and the people of Anamak and Namavu, and Mutam Madam and Chatuko longer Chatukulangara or Arthat Kanamkulam, all in the lands of the King Zamorin, and close to each other. Mali Kondathul 2003, p. 442,443. He explains how Menezes corresponded with them through letters to gain their support for his Synod of Diamper and Latinization program. Gouveia also specifies that Palayur Church had a vicar and it was dedicated to St. Cyriac. He also states that Palayur is the last of the St. Thomas Christian communities in the north, in the kingdom of Zamorin. He further reports an incident in the Palayur Church when 3 of their leading men enacted a drama by playing the roles of St. Thomas and St. Peter, the apostles, and St. Cyriac, the patron saint of the church. Throughout the play, St. Thomas and St. Peter argue with each other as to whose law is superior and applies to all of them. The drama concluded with a message from St. Cyriac, ruling that both the laws of St. Peter and St. Thomas are equal, and thus the St. Thomas Christians had no obligation whatsoever to St. Peter, nor to his apostolic see in Rome, but to the apostolic see of Babylon, which was of St. Thomas. Gouveia interprets this event as one induced by devil and comments that their actions are ironbound under the law of St. Thomas. 27. In 1602, Francis Raz, the Bishop of Cronganori and the first Latin prelate of St. Thomas Christians, made a pastoral visit to the Church of Palayur. 28. In 1632, St. Thomas Christians under the leadership of Archdeacon Gevargas of the Cross met at Adopoli Church on the 25th of December 1632 and drew a resolution against the Latin Jesuit Archbishop Stephen Brito. This document introduces them as Malankar Amarthomanas Ranical St. Thomas Christians of Malabar, and their geographical distribution is set between Column in south and Palayur in north. Joseph Maria Sebastiani, the Vicar Apostolic of Malabar appointed by the Pope, on his first journey to Malabar in 1657, visits Palayur Church and meets the vicar. He calls Palayur Primo luogo della Cristianità della Sera, the primary place of Christianity in Malabar. 29. Palayur copper plates. Palayur copper plates, also known as Palayur Chempupatayam or Palayur Chept, is a set of 4 copper plates that were discovered from the Palayur Church. These have inscriptions in Old Malayalam and Tamil Vada's Huthu script, and gives accounts of several the monetary and land deals of the church. The 4 plates are dated from 1606, Kumam 781 Malayalam era, 1677 Chingam 850 to Emi, 1681 Mithunam 856 Emi, and 1743 Minam 918 Emi respectively. These plates were discovered in the 1920s by Henry Hosen, a Belgian Jesuit priest. The 4th plate, dated 1743, was the first to be deciphered and was published in the Travancore Archaeological Series in 1921. 3031 following this, the 2nd plate dated 1677 and the 3rd plate dated 1681 were also published in the Travancore Archaeological Series in 1927 by A. S. Ramanatha Iyer. 32. The plates provide details, such as the names of the vicars of Palayur, namely Iti in 1606 and Chaco in 1677 and 1681. According to the first plate, the place name is Palayur in 1606. And in the second and third plates, the place name evolves to Palayur in 1677 and 1681 and, finally in the fourth to Palayur in 1743. The name of the patron saint of the church is mentioned as Macriaca in 1677 and Macri in 1681, both being Malayalam renderings of the Syriac name Markriakos. 32 these four plates are preserved at the Palayur Church Museum. Structure, old photograph. Following the migration of the Hindu Brahmins from Palayur, the church was built incorporating the old Hindu temple, which was deserted. The church, as built, was thus a fusion of Hindu architectural style in respect of ornamentation with the Persian church plan. The roof of the church rises like a tower above the nave. The approach or entrance is like a Hindu-style Mandapane Indian architecture, a pillared outdoor hall or pavilion for public rituals. 33. Giacomo Fenicio, an Italian missionary, built the new church around the small old teak wood church. After getting due permission from the locals, who were not only superstitious, but also sentimental about retaining the old church. However, after the church was fully completed and after the priest had delivered a proper sermon, the local people agreed to demolish the old wooden structure, which resulted in the church looking elegant. The original altar thought consecrated by Thomas is still retained, but during Tipu Sultan's invasion of Kerala in the 18th century, the church was destroyed by fire. 34 thereafter it was rebuilt. 14. Festival. An annual Today festival held at the church bears a striking similarity to the Hindu festival held at Trichy, a district town 28 kilometers, 17 miles away from the church on the same days, with lot of fanfare of pageants, orchestrations, and pyrotechnics. 35 During the Lenten season, the popular festival celebrated is called the Palayur Mahatirthadanam or Great Pilgrimage, conducted under the auspices of the Archdiocese, when thousands of devotees, without caste distinction, participate in the festival. 1436. Visitor information. The Palayur Church is well connected by a road, rail and air services network. Palayur is at a distance of 28 kilometers, 17 miles from Thrissur on the state highway. It is on the Thrissur-Chavakad route, via Pavarti. By train, it is on the Thrissur-Guruvayur broad gauge line, at a distance of 24 kilometers 15 miles. From Guruvayur, the Hindu temple town, the church is 3 kilometers 1.9 miles by road. Nedambasari International Airport is only 80 kilometers 50 miles from Palayur. 37. Important places to visit near the church precincts are the boat jetty Badakulam, where St. Thomas landed at Palayur, the Thalayakulam, the pond where St. Thomas baptized the local people, the replica of Chinnamalai small hill of Mylapore, Chennai, where St. Thomas attained martyrdom in 70 AD. 14 Scenes from the life of St. Thomas sculpted in granite. The Jubilee door in front of the entrance of the main hall of the church depicts various important biblical events, carved in Burmese teak. And the Historical Museum, where many objects of archaeological, historical and artistic value are displayed, includes the vessels and articles used by St. Thomas during his stay here.